got that in sync, like the band. You're listening to the Nightcap, literally. With Joe Soro and Gerald G. Glassford. We have a dynamite of a show tonight. I really don't know how it's going to turn out, but we are going to talk about the Lakers, and we're going to talk about certain things that pertain to the Lakers. And we're going to find out tomorrow night if the Lakers can break this little opening game curse that they've had since 2017. I believe the last opening day win was in 2016 when Timothy Mozgov, I don't remember if Luol Deng played in that game, but I know Timothy did. And they beat I believe they beat the Houston Rockets and went 1-0. So top to you all for 2016 and Timothy Mozgov. I hope you're doing well in life, folks. It's it is Pepsi, Jay. I didn't have Coke today, so I had to put the rum and Pepsi together instead of the rum and Coke. So the Lakers, I'm not surprised that the Lakers are favorite tomorrow. I think there's going to be some adjustments for Minnesota. So if there was a time where the Lakers were going to play Minnesota, this was probably the best time. My only issue is when are they going to get rid of the circus during the game so that they can focus on winning? Because if they end up screwing this game because of their circus, tomorrow's going to be lit. And I know, yeah.
Well, it's so funny because Douglas, one of our nice emailers, actually very complimentary to us, he sent in a thing that maybe we should go with more circus themes, and see, I'm like, and I was thinking about that, but I'm like, I'd get a copyright strike if I even tried to put that on the air.
Okay, we need to figure out how to do this so that we're not constantly worried about the stupid Gestapo stopping every little thing that means nothing. Is there some kind of thing we can do here? Isn't this? Don't you know how this works? How come everybody I know has music? They have all this shit, yet we're the only ones that get dinged.
No, it's a lot of people got dinged. What's his name? Dan, the Laker fan, got his channel shut down. Or I say he got demonetized for a while because he put on too many ESPN things. So you got to be careful how you do it and when you do it and how you do it. Reverse angles and all that stuff that comes into play that they want you to go ahead and do to try and beat the content ID. That stuff, man, it's just wild how you try to do it, or like try to put it squeeze it if you're trying to show a video, trying to show it in a very small angle type deal. So yeah.
Okay, so what are you supposed to do then? What exactly is?
I'll look more into it and I'll see what I can do to try to get some.
We're gonna have to make our own goddamn music so that we don't have to worry about getting dinged. Is that what it is? Is that what it is?
Yep, probably. Jeremy said he got copy striked hard. He had to go get a job. He was saying on the air. I remember him saying that because they took away a lot of his income. So he got it back, I think, eventually, JSJ. But yeah, he was pretty distraught at the time. Remember, it was like a few months ago. It was just he
was really making a living.
Yeah, that's the goal, man. And he had at the time he had like 20,000, 30,000.
20,000 subs will make you some money in this, huh?
Well, it's also the views. How many people view it as well? If you're getting like if you have 30,000 subscribers, but only 100 views, 200 views, you're not making jack poop on a stick. But if you have 30,000 subscribers and you have 30,000 views, 40,000 views, 50,000 views, that's the beginning of something right there.
Sounds exhilarating. Anyways, so we are at the eve of the NBA opening game season 19, 20, 30, 40, 20, whatever. And we are as negative as we can be to some, realistic to some as well, and positive to none. So we're going to go over some things tonight. Some things that I wasn't able to do earlier today on the original last preseason day before the regular season. This is a long season, folks, and it's been a crazy sports week when you factor in all the sports that's been going on with the WNBA finals, with the NFL, with, of course, the LCSs and how that turned out. So we're going to do our best to try to make this week's Laker first week relevant. Winning will solve all the problems. And we're going to see if the Lakers will make us eat black olives. You might be wondering, what the hell am I talking about? For those of you who just chimed in today and not the last day or so, I mentioned that I talked to my Laker brethren over at the LakersBall.com site that if the Lakers, themselves into actually winning and winning consistently and looking like a real contender, I would eat black olives. I do not like black olives.
So say it again. What's the deal? What's the bet?
So the cliche of eat crow. Will you eat crow? And obviously, I'm not going to eat a crow. So I try to meet it halfway. Because what am I going to say? How's this going to be fun if I just say, yeah, I'll eat crow? There, I ate crow virtually in my mind. Well, instead, I said, how about if I literally eat something that I cannot stand that would be like eating a crow, I would assume. Just as bad, or probably a little better, but healthier without getting trichinosis or something. I don't know. But I cannot stand black olives. It just never works. So I'll eat black olives if the Lakers start winning. And this is no lie, folks. I can't stand black olives.
What do you determine as start winning?
Well, they have to show that they're contenders. And what that means is
somebody will call you out on it, and it's pretty vague. That's why I'm asking.
No, it's not vague. If they're 12 and 4, they're contending.
Okay.
If they're 15 and 5, if they're 20 and 10, I think we can use some common sense there. I'm not gonna pull semantics out of this. We all know if they're 10 and 20 after 30 games, obviously you know there's something wrong there. If they're 500, that's no good either. They have to be top 4. How about this? Top 4. Because that is what's going to guarantee you home court. Some will say, Joe, come on. How about the 5th and 6th? That's still a good spot. Okay. The 5th and 6th guarantees you a playoff, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, without going into play-in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how about I do this? I'll placate you all. 1 through 6. But this is supposed to be before all that. I'm thinking more December that they're kind of rolling. I'm not going to base it off of all year. And it's not really this big thing. It's olives. For all people know I'm bullshitting. Who the hell ate, I don't know anybody that doesn't like olives. Very few people.
Good
How do you know
point.
not?
Well, I was going to say, Frank was asking, what if they start out good, but at the end of the season, they lose the majority of their
If they lose during the end of the season, going back to common sense, if they lose towards the end of the season, that means something went wrong health-wise. There's no reason for them to start out 12 and 4 or 15 and 5 or 20 and 10 and then all of a sudden crap the bed other than injuries. And that's a good name, Jay. I'm gonna use that one. Ifers. And when have the Lakers really not played exactly how they play the last 2 years, what have they done? Start out slow. They won the in-season tournament. They played their hearts out there. And then, of course, they decided to give back half those games the following week. It didn't matter. I'm sorry. I don't care about the in-season tournament, folks. I don't care about it. I don't think anybody does. I think this is just a thing to showcase the NBA. It has no bearing. I don't care if they win the next 10 in-season tournaments. It means dick. The only thing that matters in sports is the end of the year trophy, and that's facts. First 10 games, 3-7 record. This team can't be good. Gerald. Joe Ingles, we're going to find out. If the 3-7 out the gate and no one's injured, that's a problem.
We're not saying we disagree with you. I don't. Joe has never. Joe, in his earlier statements earlier, did not tell me exactly where he placed the Lakers. He just said who was going to win the title in his books. For me, you saw, if you watched the season preview, you saw exactly where I placed the Lakers. And I know you were on Jeff's channel. You said a comment. I had to play it back because I missed it earlier the first time, talking about tomorrow they're going to get killed or whatnot. Yeah, they could. I'm not saying differently.
Get killed?
Yeah, or said somebody's getting embarrassed tomorrow. I think Joe Ingles said something to alluding the fact that the Lakers were going to get embarrassed tomorrow.
I think if there's a game they're going to get embarrassed, it's not going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow, actually, they might have a shot because Minnesota, they made a late transaction. They don't know. They don't have anything to play with yet. It's going to be a new team with a very short window of preparation. I don't even know if Julius Randle is playing. Is he playing tomorrow?
Yeah, he's playing.
Okay. They're going to need to get acclimated. So there might be a shot if AD and LeBron and a couple guys go off, let's say. I think there might be a shot there.
DVD doesn't. DVD, he just goes in there and lets it fly. DiVincenzo.
All due respect to DiVincenzo, he's a good player, but I don't think of him as that guy, really. He could go off and drop 12 threes, but so can D'Angelo Russell. The Lakers have a very good shot at winning tomorrow. The issue is 3 days later against Phoenix, then they have a back-to-back against Sacramento, and then they got to go fly to Phoenix. How are those 4 games going to turn out? I think that sets the trend because that's going to be that second Phoenix game is going to be an early Midwest road trip, which in a lot of ways is good because you kind of get rid of that turkey neck early. That trip to Toronto, that trip to Cleveland, that trip to Detroit, all the places that Phil Jackson said, I'll coach at home and then not go to those places when he was thinking about coming back the third time. They're going to have to get their feet wet early. Can they start the season 3-1? It's essentially winning the 3 home games and then losing the road game. And then when they go out on the road, can they win the road trip? Just like in baseball, when a team that wins the series, that's what teams want to do during the year. So if they have a 3-game series, they want to win at least 2 out of 3. They go on a 4-game series road trip, they want to win 3 out of the 4. Or in general, any 4-game trip or any 4-game series. So 2 and 3, 3 and 4. If you have a 2-game series, win both. That's essentially how that works, right? Will the Lakers, based off their schedule here in the first 6 games of October, will they go 3-2? Will that be considered good? That's going to be the question. And I have no answer at this moment. They've had problems playing against Sacramento, whether at home or on the road. And then they're going to have to handle that early road trip to see how that works. And I don't think they ever really struggle too much against the Cleveland, Toronto, Detroit, Memphis teams. But it's usually the South guys in Orlando, Atlanta, Miami. Usually that road trip seems to kind of fuddle them because I think because of the extracurricular activities down in Florida. So I can see where Joe Ingles is going here. Joe, you're just throwing out this guy's going to eat this guy and this guy's going to beat this guy. So you've made up your mind that the Lakers are going to pretty much go 0-82. Am I correct? Gerald, is that the interpretation?
Yes, that is the interpretation. He hates the trash roster. I'm not saying going to disagree with him
Okay.
on the fact that it's bad roster, but he repeatedly said trash roster.
Let me clear this up, Joe. When we talk about the deficiencies of this team, we're taking information from what we're watching, and we're saying this is not good, this is bad, this might work, but you can't just go into every game and go, they're going to suck. You have to kind of weigh each game as its own thing. Tomorrow, the Lakers have a very good shot at winning tomorrow.
Yeah, Wolves are only favored by 1 or 2 points. Thank you, Intel, for the update. Truly appreciate it, and the super chat.
So Sabonis is going to eat AD's lunch. How do you know that? Because he's done it in the past? And by the way, why are we talking about Sabonis? Tomorrow they're playing Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert.
And Nas Reed and all that. Yes. Julius Randle.
Let's focus on tomorrow's game. I'm waiting for the circus to come in and leave really quickly. Hopefully, it's not during the game when it's competitive, which that's really what I'm waiting for tomorrow. I have a common sense detector that says that Redick is not going to put in the circus boy until the end of the game. There's no reason to put him in anywhere between, unless they're up 10. Maybe when they're up 10, you think that's what they're going to do?
I think they're going to do it opening the second quarter, regardless of the score, just to get it out of the way. I do know that, hold on, Ken Griffey Sr. and Jr. are going to be there present. So the league has probably told them that they're going to do it tomorrow night just because. So, wow. Yeah, just letting you know. So they're going to do it regardless. So if I'd say they're going to do it sooner rather than later.
So now we have to appease the Griffies
mm-hmm.
and play this charade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So a little commentary on that. If I'm Minnesota right now, what am I telling my players?
Make sure you dominate. You target him.
If I'm talking to the Minnesota players and I'm going, all right, guys, there's this thing that's going to happen here, and we are going to take full advantage of this. So Chris Finch is going to tell his players, the second this clown comes in, we are going to blitz. And I mean blitz hard. But does Chris Finch have that kind of mentality, or is he a pussy? Like half the league.
Well, let me just say this. I was talking to Sean Harder back and forth, and Sean, just absolutely great part of what we do here, the Lakers Fast Break. But he was saying that, Gerald, the NBA is like a big fraternity, and they wouldn't really go ahead and target someone like Bronny or talk smack to someone like Bronny. I was like, there are some that are going to go out of the way to target him, both in the NBA and in the G League. He has a target on his back because of who his father is, how he got into the team. I know that some people will make an example out of him and try to do so. It's just going to be the way of life and what he's going to have to get used to. He just has to get better as a player to try and combat that, because if he doesn't, it's not going to be pretty, because some people will try to take advantage of it. Joe, are you in agreement with me on that?
I think you didn't have to talk that much about it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it was too detailed. I don't think it's that complicated.
Okay.
The fact that you're competing in an actual game, and you are even thinking in any way of a charade like this is in bad taste. This isn't someone's passing where they take the 8-second or the 24-second violation, something like that on each side. That's different. That's honoring someone who elevated the Magic, making the All-Star team without playing that year. That's honoring a player that major league at a level that it never had and continued to go. What this is if you have clout, you can bring in mediocrity, if not even lower than that, and give it justification.
I have a feeling, Sam, that's a good question. Again, like Joe said, he thought it would be in garbage time or late fourth quarter if the game is already decided. I think that's too much of an equation because what if it's a close game? You don't want to put Bronny in there in the fourth quarter. I have a feeling, just to get out of the way, I'm going to say the opening of the second quarter. You get it out of the way. You put the lights on it. You put the prime time on it. You put the TV on it. All that you know hallmark feel good stuff and all that crap. Have them hug, yes, high fives, standing ovation, blah blah blah, whatever, and just get rid of it. Get it out of the way. Put them in there for 2 minutes, and then be done with it. That's
The beautiful thing about tomorrow is there's no longer going to be discussions of ifs. It's going to be the beginning of the realization of what this is going to be. And we're going to analyze legitimate games. Lakers, if the Lakers go into tomorrow's game and lose, what is going to be the commentary at this point?
Actually,
business as usual.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I really want to put this thing in there for you, Joe. And Juan, he is a very positive person, and I appreciate it. And again, we really like you being positive. It's good. We're happy for you. But he said, Joe and Gerald, why do some fans always talk about how trash our roster is? I mean, Joe Ingles, he's been going off all night on both Jeff's show and ours about how trash our roster is. I will say this kindly, Juan. Last year, the Lakers had one of the worst benches as far as bench production in the entire league. And Rob did virtually nothing to improve upon it. So you're after let's put the starting roster aside. Let's put the starting lineup aside. After that, you have a very promising rookie in Dalton Connect. You have a very big question mark in Max Christie, and you have a whole lot of disappointment after that, my friend. And that's why people say this is a trash roster. Again, last year we were one of the worst productive benches in the entire NBA. That's what people are basing off of. And I'm not sure Dalton Connect is only one man, and one man can change entire bench. That's hard to do, Joe.
We get bundled in with the nonsense because it could be something you don't want to hear, and you just assume hater, or you don't know what you're talking about crowd. The difference is most of the people that talk out of their ass don't really watch the games like we do. And there's a history that's been accumulated for 30 plus years. We didn't play in the NBA. We never coached in the NBA. Those crowds are out there too. The guys that are in the NBA, that played in the NBA. I've sat back numerous times watching ex-players of that league discuss things that made no sense. Discussing things that I'm going, weren't you in this? You were in the locker rooms. You know how this works. Why are you talking like some guy on the internet? The things that John Sally said, I've been using that as a huge example. And how bad. I don't care if you played in the NBA. When you're wrong, you're wrong. I don't have to be in the NBA or coach in the NBA to know you're full of shit. I'm going to use the John Sally video that I saw a while back, and every now and then it creeps up about how Phil Jackson kept Kobe Bryant from getting 100 points. That's really bad commentary. That's wrong. By saying something like that, and you being a former NBA player and you didn't do your homework, that says a lot about you. Why would he say that? You all might be confused at where I'm going with this. John Sally, I don't remember I think he was sitting with Gilbert Arenas. I think it was him. I can't remember exactly, but John Sally said Phil Jackson didn't want Kobe to get 100. He said something about how records should be meant for certain people, something like that. Now, mind you, folks, Kobe Bryant, when he was playing with Phil Jackson, had a very specific rotation, his minutes, okay? Generally, what he did when he was at his peak, he'd always play about 42, 43 minutes a game. He'd play the first quarter, he'd sit the first 6 minutes, play the last 6 minutes of the second quarter, play the third quarter, sit the first 6 minutes, unless it's, of course, a tight game, sit the first 6 minutes of the fourth, and then finish the game. That's usually how it worked. When he was in his heyday, he'd probably sit for 4 minutes. But you guys know what I'm going with this, right? Now, Kobe in 2006 did not. Every game people assumed he was going to hit 40. He had scored 26 points in the first half. He had done that numerous times during that year. No one thought he was going to drop 81. Okay, so you have to say that John Sally was Nostradamus or Negrodamus for most of you out there who watch Chappelle. I usually like to use it. It's funny. By saying something like that, that means Phil Jackson knew Kobe was going to get 81 when he sat him in the second quarter or in the first half. There's no way he would have known. And that's bad commentary. And that happens a lot from former players, from former coaches. They say stuff like that. I remember this stuff. I don't know why, but I have a brain for it. I remember scenarios. I remember sequences during games, when people checked in, when people checked out. I remember these things. So if you're going to come with information like that, and you are blatantly lying, making stuff up to make you feel good about something, I'm going to call your ass out. I don't care if you played in the NBA. I don't care if you coached it. You're wrong. There's no way Phil Jackson could have possibly known that Kobe was going to hit 81 that night, let alone 100, because he was setting up his normal rotation. The only reason why Kobe could go after 81 that night was because for the first time that Kobe dropped that many points before the third quarter ended was that they were still in a competitive scenario. All the other ones, 56 against Memphis in three quarters, 62 with Dallas, 65 with Portland, all those scenarios, they were blowing them out or they were going to win the game. And that's what I'm talking about. There's more detail to this, and it's a small story that I'm trying to make a point at. But right now, factoring in all of the stuff going on with the Lakers, we've watched all 82 games plus the in-season tournament championship, which is 83, and 84, which is the play-in. And then we watched them losing 5 to Denver. We saw all the preseason games last year, which were 5, right? So that's 89 games plus 5, 94 games. What are you going to tell us about this roster as a fan, as a commentator, because I know a lot of people talking about the Lakers. I know they didn't watch all 94 games. So what do they know? What do they know about really what the pulse of this team is? You tell me. Are we out of line?
No, I don't believe so. Big shout out to Intel for the super chat.
What stays on target? What does that mean?
No, if you stay like there because they were asking. JY was asking, "What's the topic for tonight?" And you said preview on season, but sometimes I'd talk about the Dodgers, the Steelers. If it goes off another direction, that's why.
Yeah, I mean, I can throw in some Dodger talk. I know that there's, the first game is on Friday. If you guys want to have some dialogue on that, I can go ahead and talk about that. The Steelers, it's an interesting little path going on here. Since Sunday. So the Steelers played the New York Jets. The Dodgers played the Mets. Dodgers closed out the Mets, the New York Mets. Steelers beat the hell out of the New York Giants. Guess who the Steelers are playing next Monday? The New York Giants. Guess who the Dodgers are playing in the World Series? The New York Yankees. It's an interesting weeks. But I sat there today thinking about that. I said, could this be the day? Could this be a 2-week period in my sports life that I'll never forget, where all my teams rocked New York in a 2-week span?
Jeremy is asking, what was Kobe's 3-point per engagement for his career?
I don't know that analytic. I don't know those analytical specifics.
I'll look up his stats, see if I can bring it up on.
Kobe was a streaky 3-point shooter.
Yeah, he wasn't a sharpshooter.
He wasn't. I think when I hear that, there's a lot of discussions about Kobe being a better shooter than Michael Jordan. That's not true.
He's 33. He was 33% overall from
Michael Jordan was a much better shooter than Kobe. Kobe just shot amazing shots under duress at critical moments. I'd say there's no one could shoot. No one's scared. I think Bird had that, and of course people were scared of Jordan too, but Kobe scared everyone because he was such a really good bad shooter maker. He can make shots like Bird. My dad growing up, God rest his soul, my dad used to say Bird would just throw the ball in the air and it would go in. Kobe in a lot of ways was the same way. His separation, what there's a few things that separated him from Jordan, and that is, when I watched Jordan play at his peak, he could get separation better than anybody. Kobe couldn't get the separation. He didn't have that extra gear like Jordan did. Jordan, if he wanted to get to the left elbow in like a second with really good separation, he can do it. Kobe, yeah, he can do it, but if there was someone with equal athleticism, they could usually stay on him pretty closely, and then he'd just shoot over him and still make it, which is what the point of this is. Kobe's statistics don't really define who he was. Because if you look at his statistics, he was essentially 25-5, shot 44.9% from the field, which is not very good, shot 33% from three. So the question is, what made Kobe so good? What was it that took his teams over the top when he wasn't as efficient as some of the NBA greats at the guard position? What was it? Is there a stat, an analytical stat that would make it make sense? The only thing I know, the only thing I can base my eyes on is the guy was always in the big games. His first 14 seasons in the NBA, when he was at his peak in terms of health. Actually, I wouldn't even say that. I'd say because he didn't play so much the first couple of years, and he had a lockout season in '99, from 2000 to 2010, that 11-season window, Kobe Bryant played on two separate, and some can argue against that the back-to-back title was a dynasty. I don't think it was. In a lot of ways, sometimes I go back to the three-peat team and I say, was that a dynasty? I don't know if it was technically a team dynasty. I think it was a Kobe Shaq dynasty and then a Powell and Kobe dynasty, not a Laker dynasty. The whole 11 years is a Laker dynasty in my book. If you want to say that, because Kobe was the tie into all that, you could say that the 2000 to 2010 Laker team was a dynasty. But you look at the competition. Look at the teams he played against. It was pretty significant. And even the teams that were likely not to have a shot at beating him, look at who he beat. He beat Jason Kidd, and again when he was in New Jersey. He beat Allen Iverson when he was in Philly. He beat Reggie Miller when he was at Indiana. You had Dwight at its peak in 2009, and then in 2010, obviously the big three. So he was beating 50-win teams on his way to playing these elite players with their teams, and in two different styles, two different sets of championship run teams. And that's kind of where I'm at with that. Kobe was a god. Take him all day over Braun. Braun is truly great. Not a diss. Yeah, Search. That there's some are mesmerized by the statistics. I've never been afraid of LeBron. I don't know if that means anything. I've never been afraid of LeBron. My top 5 was Kobe, Bird, Magic, Jordan, and Kareem. All 5 were killers. LeBron has never been a killer to me. I've never been worried about LeBron, and that's just kind of how I feel. How is that Penguin show, by the way?
It's okay. It's okay. I really liked the Batman movie. I thought it was really good. And the Penguin show kind of continues that. The female lead who plays the rival of the Penguin, she is really good in the show. And I think she's making the show what it is. It's a good watch. But I was saying
Johnny Sack's daughter.
Yeah, I mean she was really good. Colin Farrell. You really, it's so cool what they did for the prosthetics on him, because you really wouldn't know it's Colin Farrell if you looked at it. And he's been doing okay. But yeah, otherwise it's not too bad. It's not too bad. It doesn't overwhelm you. And obviously, basing it off the movies, it continues some of the storylines from the movies, the fallout from whatever happened in the Batman movie. If you haven't watched it, yeah, I think it's a solid watch. He was just asking me which one I like better. I say maybe Agatha just a tiny bit more, but it's like they're both okay. They're both okay. Not overwhelmingly great or anything like that, but okay. And we did find out this past weekend at the New York Comic Con that Daredevil Born Again is coming up in March. So looking forward to that.
Who's playing Daredevil?
It's the same guy on the Netflix show. Yes. How was Joker Part 2? Joker Part 2 is very disappointing, Intel.
You watched it?
Yeah. It's just, it is what it is. It's just let me go ahead and see if we can put a musical into this thing. Oh, let's go ahead and do a courtroom drama into this thing. And it just doesn't quite fit, and it just doesn't quite work out. But it was Todd Phillips saying, you know what? I really don't want to make this movie, but Warner Brothers gave me a whole hell of a lot of money, and also Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga a whole hell of a lot of money. So we're going to take it, and we're just going to put something out there for 2 hours and be done with it. He did not want to do a sequel. You could tell throughout the movie he did not want to direct a sequel. He's already had enough of sequels with The Hangover.
So how do you justify that as Warner Brothers?
The only way you could justify it is, hey, the first one exceeded tremendously above expectations because it became the first $1 billion worldwide R-rated movie before Deadpool and Wolverine. So you could say it exceeded expectations maybe it was going to do what it was projected to do. I think I remember if I talked about the time about 5 to 600 million. I think people were talking about. So that is well beyond what those expectations were. And it wasn't, it was made for under $100 million. So its level where it needed to make money was not nearly as high as what Joker 2 was. Joker 2, they backed up the Brinks truck for Todd Phillips, the director, and of course, Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga. They paid them tens of millions of dollars. And they, I think the production budget was around 190, $200 million. So the old rule for making money, for a movie to make a profit, it has to be 3.5 times or 4 times whatever the production budget is. So I'll let you guys do the math. Understand that they're taking a bath. The loss, whatever loss that they're going to make on this, is probably much more than what they actually got as a profit for the first one.
Well, I heard the first one cost 40 million, and they made $1 billion.
It was 80 million. It was 80
it
million. 80, yeah, 80 before any advertising.
Okay, so
like
here's how it works, folks. I'm going to use round numbers so it's easy to compute. Let's say a film cost 100 million to make. Typically, marketing is going to add another 100 to that. So that's
plus you got to, yeah, but you also have to pay distributors based on what area of the world that you're dealing with.
So you're already 200 in the hole by making the film at 100 mil and then advertising it for 100 mil. Now you release it. You gotta there's a scale depending on how the deal is set up where a certain amount of money goes to theaters and then you get the other. I think at the beginning it's 90-10 and then it slowly gets to 80-20, 70-30, blah blah blah. They always said it was half and half, but I think the deal's been changed. So then that factors into the total. Black Adam was the movie I try to give people an example of why this movie, why The Rock screwed up his own franchise. Because he wanted his portable gyms and all this tequila advertisement bullshit on there, and it cost them millions. Black Adam was not a bad movie, but the problem is it cost so much money. They were bound. It sunk because it cost so much money. It wasn't because the movie was bad. Now, there is no way, based off of the material, that The Rock should have ever played Black Adam. But the movie wasn't bad. But the problem was they spent way too much money and they were never going to recoup it. Because I think for some weird reason they thought they were going to make $2 billion on this thing. I don't know why. This is not the Avengers. I don't know why the hell they thought they were going to make that much. The thing cost $500 million. No good. That thing would have broken even at $1 billion. So imagine, it would have broken even at $1 billion. And of course, they didn't make that much. I think they made like 600 million. So that's, yeah, it's a, you look at the Terrifier, why horror movies are always going to be popular to make, because what did they spend? 4 million? Made 18 million opening night?
Yeah, remember the first one was made for like $25,000. Second one was made for like $250,000. This was made for like $2 to $4 million, and it made 20 million in its first weekend at the box office with no advertising. Remember, they did not advertise this movie because it's a not rated movie, and of course, Kubro conned his dad into go seeing it. So, Intel, I appreciate the super chat. As far as Disney, again,
I know he's a kid, but such a stupid kid. I mean, come on. This is stupid. Why would you even, what would possess someone to go and watch something like that at 15 years old? Seriously. And the thing is, he takes pride in it. And a lot of this is, me being maybe a little cynical. I feel like it's a rouge. Still do. That this whole thing is a fucking work. So, for those of you who don't know what the hell that means in wrestling terms, it's fake.
Intel has the pointed thoughts in the super chat on Disney and what has been presumed out there. Again, we don't know that for sure. We don't know if that's a mandate. It's what people are perceiving as far as whatever you like to term it, woke or whatever. Yeah, I don't know if that's the case. Again, I've interacted with the entertainment industry for quite a while. I've not heard that from Bob Iger's mouth. I've not heard that from anyone up Frank at Disney, so I cannot say that's 100% correct or not. I mean, you interpret whatever they're putting out there as what they're interpreting. So if that's what you want to say, then you're entitled to your opinion and tell. And God bless you. I love you for it, man. But yeah,
Well,
I can't speak for Disney on that one. Of course,
it's a
Disney's going to tell you no for sure.
until here's the deal with that industry. It's eating itself, and when something's eating itself, the garbage starts to seep out. Why it's eating itself is because
I mean, because let's put it
the
this way:
the culture of Hollywood wasn't always this way. It was actually more conservative. And then what happened was it's very difficult to have conservative stuff going on in an area with a bunch of artists. Artists don't live a conservative life. Movies are artists. They're art. It's an art. Music is an art, so they tend to kind of be more, I guess, more progressive, right? And what ended up happening was, and I'm going to use a comparison. It's interesting how the same artists who are angry at their own creation because of the alleged mishaps of abuse and Me Too stuff, all that. And then it's been exasperated since last year when the Middle Eastern thing started happening. You know, we all know who runs Hollywood. And the reason why the Jewish people run Hollywood, and a lot of people don't know this, is because they created Hollywood. This wasn't something thrust on them. So now you have this, oh, we're supporting certain factions, yet the people who are in charge of their own world are the people they're fighting. And then you got this other entity, which is the conservative types who all they do all day is, it seems like all they do is complain about how everything is not conservative. And then you've got this big melting pot of trash. And then you have Disney that's trying to balance everything out, trying to appease everybody. And this is my point here. And I'm going to get off of the titles of Disney and all these people.
I just want to finish up on that after you finish.
I will. I'll let you finish. In the end, folks, what you should get out of that is this is what happens when you try to please everyone. Don't. Okay. I think human beings are smart enough to understand common sense. Unfortunately, most don't. But for those of you who are capable of thinking in common sense terms and understand that not everything is black and white, there's a lot of gray, whether it's things politically that you believe in, whether it's people you want to hang with. But a lot of times what you'll find out is a lot of the people that are using their bullhorns, because a lot of these guys are getting paid, by the way, folks. There was a really good show. This was 25 years ago. It's a really good show on Dateline about actors and activism. Folks, actors are salesmen. They're salespeople. Their job is to sell, not to really do anything else. You've heard plenty of times that actors are not there to act, they're there to promote. They get paid for their views. They get paid for their opinions, and people listen. This is before social media, it's before all that. People listen to them because they are famous. That's why they're used as that platform. And in the end, you got to have some common sense and be able to explain without worrying about repercussions. But people are constantly worried about being judged, being ridiculed. And unfortunately, that if you're one of those people that allows yourself to be ridiculed when you know you're in the right, then you create your own problem. And that's what all this is. And no one can get off of it, because the second someone starts thinking outside the box, right away, it's, oh, well, they're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. And then of course they go into their PR people. Very few people basically get up and say, look, if you're interpreting that way, I don't give a damn. We're doing this. So if you have a problem with it, eat dirt. But a lot of people don't do that. They're not in
And
the position of power to do it.
I'll just say this, Joe. Again, I'm sure Disney probably did have a directive at some point in time to become more progressive, to, like you said, cater to a wider audience. And in a lot of cases, it has not come out as well as it should have. I mean, the Acolyte, you guys were, a lot of people were saying, oh, because it's so diverse, whatnot. If that was a cast of all white people, it still would have sucked. It's terribly written. It's terribly directed. It might go down as one of my worst of this year simply because it's just that bad. Doesn't matter who was in it. It's just that bad. And I know Mark, big shout out, nothing but love for Xbox. Go woke, go broke. He's been saying in the comments. Problem is, Warner Brothers had the biggest movie of last year based on a progressive idea and a progressive movie in Barbie. So they weren't broke by making that movie, even though that is entirely, by your definition, very woke. This year's second movie of the year, number 2 movie of the year, has 2 white guys at the head of Deadpool and Wolverine, and that's a Disney movie. So I don't know. I just think it's more, I do understand Hollywood's, in the past 2 decades or whatnot, have tried to make an effort to become more inclusive. I will not disagree with you on that. But a lot of the times, it's not necessarily a film or a TV show or whatever project fails because it has diversity in it. It fails because, is it made well or is it not? And with The Acolyte, it sucked because of the people who wrote it, directed, and created it. It was a bad idea from the start, and it should have never been made, period. Whoever was in it, not because of any racial or diversity or anything like that. It was just plain bad. So, I mean, people are just going to hate things because it doesn't feature the people that they want to be in there. Fine, whatever. You're not going to change people's minds. But if things are bad in entertainment, it's usually because it just wasn't made well enough or just wasn't represented on screen well enough. It's just that simple, no matter who would have been there, whether it was a white person, whether it was someone from a different ethnicity, different racial background, or whatever. It's just, man, again, if it sucks, it sucks. If it's good, it's good. And I think the last 2 years in movies, as far as the most popular movies on the planet, have justified or reflected that it just takes really good writing, really good direction, really good, and some good acting as well by whatever actors, whether it's just 2 white guys or a diverse cast that can go ahead and do it. It's just that simple. So there's no theory like go woke, go broke, because again, Warner Bros. Would tell you otherwise, and Disney, to some extent, would tell you the same thing.
I wish I could believe that, Gerald.
Well, I'm glad you. I again, that's my opinion.
And I think a lot of the fact this is not just a movie issue. This is a working issue. I had a 2-hour meeting today with a very, very nice gentleman that brokers government contracts. He helps write the contracts. He helps guides. He helps put together subcontractors with other contractors from state to state, interstate, intrastate, extrastate, whatever you want to call it. And the government has special programs, and it's actually, white men are not really invited. It's disability, veteran, woman, minority. Now, we live in a country where we're told that racism is not accepted. We're inclusive. Literally today, and this is not Hollywood, this is trying to get government contracts for work. He flat out told me that a white guy's not going to get the job. That's racism. And that's my issue with the hypocrisy. Now, go into something as minimal, or as, like, what's the word I'm looking for, is inconsequential as entertainment. Entertainment should never be about hiring someone who has no ability to draw a crowd. This is a performance business. You want to talk about opportunity? Yes, keep that always open. You have the opportunity to get the job, but if you force something that doesn't work, that's bigotry. That's lack of talent in my book, and that's where all the confusion starts. That's where all the bullshit starts and all the headaches. Uh, and in the end, it's you ruin a good thing, and that's sad because I'm looking at this new trailer with and I love Anna de Armas, a gorgeous woman, good actress. I'm seeing her kick some guy, dude. She's 5'2", 120 pounds, kicking a grown ass man. I mean, come on, Gerald, really? You know what would happen if she kicked me? She'd break every bone on her body. She's not playing a superhero. She was playing a superhero. That's different. But come on, really? If she
Well, then
kicks,
again, that's a poor choice by whoever's writing or
and
directing.
that's sad too, because there's not they're not listening.
Let's just say this: if it was Scarlett Johansson, who's what 5'3" or 5'4", the same thing.
Black Widow is supposed to be
No. If she was not a superhero,
yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
And then it just I guess I can delve into this a little bit more. By the way, folks, you're watching the Nightcap with Joe Soro and Gerald
remember
Glassford.
I talked about guys staying on target.
For those of you who are new to the show, we do talk Lakers, obviously, but we do throw in a couple of things here. And I gotta say I'm proud of Gerald for participating in this because I thought he shut the show down by now by talking about it. But I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna say this last thing, and then we're gonna go back to sports.
Intel wanted to go ahead and
That's
discuss it.
fine. That's fine. Good. I'm gonna end it at this.
We
Look,
love Intel,
the
man.
suspension
Intel's
of
the best.
the suspension of disbelief. Just so you guys know, I'm not just picking on women. Once I started seeing Vin Diesel jumping out of a car, landing on a bridge, and going into another car, that's when I stopped watching Fast and Furious. So it's not just a 120-pound woman kicking a 200-pound man and sending him to his death and going, okay, all right. And again, I love her. She is everything you want to look at when you watch a movie. Gorgeous, can act, but there's limits to that. And I'm not saying that women should play the damsel in every movie. Absolutely not. Some of my favorite movies of all time had strong female as in not just emotional. I'm talking physical. Linda Hamilton in T2, Sigourney Weaver in Aliens. You know, these hell, one of my all-time favorites in the 90s was the movie Set It Off with Jada Pinkett, Queen Latifah, and Vivica A. Fox. Great movie, by the way, by F. Gary Gray, which is one of the very, very underrated directors in Hollywood. A good movie, like you said, Gerald, versus a bad movie. But there's also, I know when you're trying to put something in there that doesn't make sense. Stop doing that. Make it make sense. Hell, I even loved Red Sonja. Even Red Sonja. She was beating every dude until she met Arnold. They tied when they had the little battle. So, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, watch Red Sonja from 1984, I think. It didn't do well. I don't know why. I thought the movie was great at the time, especially when I was a kid. Halle Berry as Catwoman would have worked, but the script was terrible.
It was awful. I mean, she is so beautiful, but the movie was so bad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate too. But I also think that Michelle Pfeiffer pretty much, I think she ruined that character for everyone. And Anne Hathaway did great in Dark Knight Rises, but Michelle Pfeiffer will always be Catwoman. at least for the movies, because I am still spitting a little bit with
Well, Anne Hathaway was also Catwoman as well.
yeah, I was saying she did a phenomenal job.
She was feisty, and I like that. Yeah, I like that about her.
Yeah,
I thought
no,
she
she
played
did
the
great.
character well.
She did great, and
Nolan
but
is to me is good.
Julie Newmar,
Mm.
Julie Newmar, she was way before my time, obviously, but that was a gorgeous woman. Jesus Christ.
By the way, just to let you know, Xbox, she got a paid. Halle Berry got paid $1 million for that scene in Swordfish. For that specific scene, she got paid $1 million.
What the book?
Yeah.
The book coming off?
Yes. And when Hugh Jackman's character came up, yeah,
Such a
walking.
great movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Such a
she
great
got
movie.
paid an extra mil for that. Just to let you know. So
that was one of those movies where you're just so happy it came when it came because they never had a chance to screw it up. It was the perfect one-off movie, and and I watch it maybe once a year just because I love this. There's a few scenes in there that I just love. Obviously, the one where he's trying to crack while he's getting you know what, and just John Travolta, I thought killed it. The way he'd hold a cigarette, it was just phenomenal movie. I highly liked it.
but
Oh,
yes, I agree with you, Ralph. If you're too busy trying to send a message instead of creating a good script, providing actors with good material, having good actors in place, whatever you know, equation, whatever ethnic, whatever male, female, it doesn't matter. That you got to provide them with a good script, good direction on how to go ahead progress through movie, and usually and actors, if they're anywhere, worth their salt, from whatever background they are, they'll get it done. But if you're too worried about bringing in a political message, I didn't like Avatar. I get that it was basically a message film throughout, but I never liked Avatar or, The Way of Water, whatnot. I thought it was a CGI movie. Obviously, it advanced the CGI movie special effects, for years. It's one of those iconic movies because of it. But yeah, it was a message movie. It was 2 hours, but nothing but message. But it makes $2.5–3 billion, close to it, every time it comes out. But do people remain with it? Do people like my friend said? Does Avatar have a cultural footprint? It doesn't. I
it,
wonder why.
you, it's.
They'll watch it, Joe, and then they'll forget. They'll
You
just move
can't.
on.
Sometimes you can't avoid that though in a story. Look at Star Wars. Look at Phantom Menace. There was a political message in the movie, but it's not. It was part of the storyline.
But
It
this
wasn't.
was intentional. He was intended to make a message with that movie. He said that in interviews, Joe.
So James Cameron wanted to send a message that
About the environment,
about the
about yes,
environment. Okay,
yes.
all right. The obsession with the message. What has it done? All these messages, all this political BS. What has it done in the end? It's made things worse. Because when you start saying that you're gonna go after the problem and then you end up bringing in people that were not the problem, what happens? That crowd starts to say, F you, I have nothing to do with this. You want to go after the problem? Go after the problem. I've had this discussion with friends of mine when we discussed social issues, whatever. I said, go after the source. What is going on TV and yelling at people who have nothing to do with it gonna do? Joe, awareness. Joe, this. I go, it's not working. You're pissing people off. It's not working. You're doing it wrong. I get it. I get what you're trying to do, but it won't work. And I've been saying this since the Kaepernick thing. It's not going to work. You're telling people who have nothing to do with this that they're wrong, that they're the problem. That what Imagine how you feel when someone's blaming you for something that's not your fault. You're going to get pissed because you keep getting it shoved in your face. Got to go to the source. But people don't know how to do that. And in the end, this isn't cynicism or being jaded. Okay, folks, there's too many people in the world. You got to control people somehow. The easiest way is to keep them uncomfortable and fearful. That's it. It's that simple.
I will say though, Gladiator 2, I was really hesitant to embrace it, but my gosh, you got Pedro Pascal and Denzel Washington. The advanced word, it might be really good. Ridley Scott is he's directing it, so yeah, I love Gladiator, and I was just saying in the chat. I mean, if you got a Dolby surround sound system, play the beginning of Gladiator and how good it is, especially the first battle scene and how that sounds, it just right in your ears or right there all over. It's just tremendous. I watched in the theater back then. And it was just really a great experience. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I was very hesitant to get into number 2, but I'm warming up to it, Joe. I'm just going to say that I'm warming up to it. I don't know about the lead actor Mescal. I haven't seen too much of his work per se, but when you got Pedro Pascal, who's one of the hottest actors on the planet right now, as far as what he's doing, everything seems to be working. And then you've got, of course, one of the best actors of all time in Denzel Washington. It's a good chance it might work out, Joe. Good chance it might work out.
I don't know where movies are going to go at this point. I don't know what's next. I really don't.
Well, there still is the cinematic experience. I watched Doom Part 2 two times in the theaters. I watched it in a enhanced audio experience, which was tremendous especially where he's riding the sandstorm. He's riding the worm. That was a tremendous scene, one of the best scenes I've ever seen in my entire life. And then I watched it in IMAX, and just visually, it was just so striking. So there's still movies, Joe, that you should see in a theater because of the experience. Not many. There's not many. Most of these movies these days can just go straight to streaming, and you can watch it from there. But there are still some event movies you should go out of your way to see and experience in a theater.
Will we ever see another Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Well,
something original.
Something like that. Yeah, I was going to say you're going to see another Harry Potter TV series pretty soon, unfortunately. But I think you will. I think something will connect with an audience that large. I think that it just takes time. It's just so hard to hit on that magic formula. Those were adapted stories. Dune was thought to be unfilmable, as we saw with the 1984 film. It was really that was a mess in many ways. Some people still like it, but yeah, it was a mess in many ways. And Denis Villeneuve proved everyone wrong. So, those were source material movies that you're all talking about. So maybe an adaptation of a great story. There will be one that comes someday. It's just going to take some time for that to happen.
Well, with that, folks, you are listening to the Nightcap.
I still think. I was going to say, I still think One Behind Me, Mass Effect, would be a great storyline for a movie series or TV series.
But okay, who are the next? Is there ever going to be a lineup like Scorsese, De Palma, Coppola, Spielberg? Is that crew ever gonna? Is that a crew like that ever going to come out and start owning again? Lucas,
that's different. Like I said, Denis Villeneuve has been killing it lately, and other selected directors. But for you going to see a film because it says Scorsese on the top or Spielberg on the top, those days, I'm not going to say they're done, Joe, but they're going to be harder to find. I'd say you will not have the days of the big director stars, really propelling this film forward, or I got to go see it because it's this person's film. Movie stars, they say that movie stars are dead. I think it's on life support, but I don't think it's dead. I still think there's some individuals that people trust that will go see a film. For instance, like Denzel Washington, I still think people will go see it just because of him. Pedro Pascal, he's someone that seems to find the right, projects to work on as of late. So people will follow what he's doing. But yeah, I think it's the days of the movie star or the movies that are just led by a great director that you got to go see. I mean, Christopher Nolan, I think is probably the best example of that, of a movie that you would see, even if you did know who was starring in it. If you knew it was a Christopher Nolan film, you'll still go and see. I think that's the last. That's him and Villeneuve examples are probably, yeah. After that, I couldn't tell you, Joe.
Fair enough. Again, you're on the Lakers Fast Break Nightcap with Joe Soro and Gerald Glassford. It's been a pretty busy day for you here, Gerald. The NBA season starts tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of sports going on in the next week. And my focus will be a lot on baseball for the next week or so. My thirst for that World Series title is at an all-time high because I believe this will set the stage for a run that won't be derailed by cheating pieces of shit like the Houston Astros or the Red Sox in 2017 and 18, and it will catapult the Shohei Ohtani era officially. You're talking about arguably, I'm going to say that as a respect to all the players in Major League Baseball, arguably the best player of his generation, and Shohei Ohtani in his first year with the Dodgers, 4 wins away from winning his first World Series title. Pretty phenomenal. Pretty phenomenal. And a little bit of redemption for someone who I've been very hard on. And I'd like to say this so that you all know that I'm not a heartless prick all the time. That when you do things that you're supposed to do, win or lose, that you will have my respect and you will have my support. And Dave Roberts is 4 wins away from putting a bow on one of the more outstanding managerial performances that I've seen in baseball.
And it was so funny, Joe, because I got criticized by theming last night's show, which was a Lakers topic, but it was centered around the Dodgers' success. And if the Lakers could follow that, I got criticized for doing that. And I'm like thinking to myself, I do 300 shows a year on this channel. And because I devote 3 or 4 to the Dodgers, do you really have to roast me for that? Really?
It's like the people who are, I don't know, what's her name? What's her name? Steele?
Sage Steele.
No, not Sage. The writer, the book writer, Steele. Something.
Oh,
Steele.
I know who you're talking about.
Danielle Steele.
Yeah, Danielle Steele. Yes.
So it's like I'm using that as an example. I'm not saying her specific, but let's like Danielle Steele crowd. Imagine if she started writing about tulips or flowers or gardening. People are like, "What the fuck is this?" I get it. I get it. This is a Lakers show. We've made our bones doing a Lakers show. I understand. However, there's a reason why you've seen Kobe at Dodger games. You saw Magic Johnson and Coop. God love those guys. So happy for Coop, by the way. Every time I see Coop, I get this happiness. Coop is like, every time he talks, every time he speaks, he just has this aura about him where you just want to be around him because it's always good. The character in Winning Time, even he encapsulated his character, his personality. Like this kind of like fish out of water, but he's still badass. It's like the perfect combination because you're always gonna love somebody like that. Imagine a guy. It's like Troy Polamalu. He's such a sweet guy, but when he got on the field, he was a beast. The perfect combination. The perfect hot and cold, right?
Would you say he's head and shoulders above everyone else.
Good one. Good one. That's
Yes.
real good. You should
Sorry.
write that one down and say it again.
Yes.
But it does come together here, folks. Dodgers and Lakers are staples of that town. There has been a battle between the two in terms of popularity since the Dodgers came to LA in 1958 and the Lakers came to LA from Minneapolis in 1960. The Dodgers almost had 4 million in attendance this year, folks. That's a lot of people coming to watch a game.
Remember when it was like 3 million was the standard, and it's like, okay, 3 million every. Now you're saying it's close to 4. That's
And they're going to be at 4 because of the elongated run here.
Mhm.
That's a popular team, folks. This is baseball, right? In an era where the slow brains can't keep up with baseball yet, it's still popular in LA. I just wish that piece of shit that owns the parking lot would solve this parking lot fiasco as well as the city of LA. But we all know how that's another discussion that we'll talk off air.
Yeah, JSJ is going to kill us already, so we've got to get back to Laker talk.
Yeah. So the Lakers tomorrow play the Minnesota Timberwolves, which I think is a benefit in a lot of ways because I think Minnesota might not be equipped in terms of chemistry wise to probably come out and play the way they probably should. So there might be a small chance that the Lakers can come out with a win here as long as they don't screw up and have the circus playing more than 1 minute. And
I think
that'll be the
pissed off a lot
time.
of people tonight.
And when that whole fiasco happens, that's when I'll take my piss break. Just so you all know. So if you guys come on here tomorrow night, oh, did you see it, Joe? Did you see it? It's probably going to be no, because I don't want to support this shit. You all know how I feel about this fiasco, and a lot of my disdain for this has and my negativity towards what the Lakers are going to do this year is tied to the fact that this has become more important than winning basketball games. And that's where my irritation comes from. But no one wants to talk about that. They just want to talk about, oh, you're hating on some kid, or you're hating on LeBron. Okay, your interpretation is stupid, by the way. Seriously, you're a moron. That has nothing to do with it. I don't give a shit about LeBron and his family. I don't care what they do, just like they don't care about what I do. I care about the Lakers. I care about their focus. And playing someone because he's your kid and he doesn't belong in the NBA, that's wrong when it comes to trying to win games. And there's nothing you can do to change that. There's nothing you could say that would make it incorrect. It's 100%. That's it. With that, thank you all for being here tonight. And we'll be here tomorrow. We're going to be here tomorrow for pregame, hopefully playback. I got to see how my schedule is. I try to open everything up so I can be here for everything. But again, thank you for being here tonight. And we're going to try to think what we can do for playback tomorrow. We'll let you know. We'll let you know with playback. Maybe I'll support some gear or something. I don't know on the show. Put my face on there for once. But until then, thank you for being here. Have a good night wherever you are in the world. Gerald, thank you for being on here tonight. This is the Lakers Nightcap with the Lakers Fast Break. I'm Joe Soro. Until next time, I'll see you next time.